Could be recording now.
Yeah,
Good evening, Blues. Welcome to the Manchester Blue post-match show with an all-star cast. As you can see, we've got a whole lineup tonight of just myself, Dan, and Lainey, and all the rest will probably join in never. But yeah, you're stuck with us for the post-match of the Newcastle game, which it wasn't really that lively, to be fair. Hardly any goals, no controversy, no decisions that went unanswered. Who are we talking about? Ended up 4-3, 2 penalties to Newcastle, and it for the neutral, it was fantastic. Firstly, though, before we go into detail, Lenny, what's your overall view of the game? How do you think it went?
Overall, fairly chuffed. I mean,
that's just because we got 3 points.
well, that's I'm not going to lie. Everyone knows me. I'm the one who really goes critical on analysis and stuff. And yeah, if it was earlier on the season and the league wasn't already ours, then I'd be picking points and I'd be saying, "Oh, that we need to do this, we need to do that," and stuff. But the Premier League, we've got 3 games. Well, we had 3 games left. It's already in the bag. So, I mean, I said in the group chat that for me, that the next 3 Premier League games, I showed you the sort of starting lineup I'd have had, and it would basically been a mix of the players who aren't going to be playing in the final, like Ake, Mendy, players like the fringe kind of players, and it'd have been the youth players, some of those EDS lads. Give them a, if you look at the likes of Delap, and I know Howard Bellis has gone on loan, Annie, so he won't be able to play, but Doyle, they've just won the EDS Premier League. Delap scored on his debut for the club, hit the bar against Leicester. Doyle, he's captain the EDS to earn a title for them. Stick him in the first team. You've got 3 games now. Just go out there, enjoy your football, no pressure. I mean, I don't like it. My opinion is, on paper, we should beat every single team every single week. Doesn't matter whether it's Premier League, Champions League. We've got to a point now. We are, in my opinion, on paper, the best team in the world. We can beat anybody on our day. But the Premier League, we're not going to break any records. Granted, the Newcastle game, away, it was however many, 21, 22 consecutive away games we've won.
Something like that, yeah.
Set a
2 records. I think it was a club record and domestic record.
I know it's a domestic in the top 4 tiers, which, that's impressive. But in terms of the big, more well-known, we're not going to do the points. We're not going to do the goals. It's just a case of Aguero's got his couple of goals he needs to beat Rooney's record. But other than that, it's just let the team enjoy the football. It's literally now play without pressure. So I'm not massively bothered about the Premier League. The only thing I'm concerned about now is the Champions League final.
Hands down, it's the only thing we're left in fighting for. The record was that was the 23rd consecutive unbeaten away match in all competitions for City. Won 21 and drawn 2. It's the longest ever unbeaten away record by a side in the top 40s of English football since Notts County's run in 2012 of 22 games. So we're beating it by 1. So that's another record that tumbles before Pep Guardiola and his City team. One player that, before we get right into it, deserves a brief but big mention. It's his first Premier League start in 10 years. At the age of, I can't find it. I think he's very old now in terms of goalkeeper standard. But yeah, Scott Carson made his first Premier League appearances May 2011 at West Brom, with a gap of 9 years, 357 days, and it's the 6th longest gap in appearances in Premier League history and the longest ever for a goalkeeper. It's a shame he didn't keep a clean sheet, because he's not going to get the Premier League medal, because obviously you need 5 appearances for that, and that's only his first, but quite a lively game for him at the back.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you got to really feel sorry for him. I mean, Emil Kraft's goal that we conceded, it's bit of sloppy defending. I'm not going too harsh on the team. So we won, and Newcastle is not an easy place to go to. I mean, we've had problems there last couple of seasons when obviously we lost there 2-1 a few years back. So no, that's not an easy place to go to. So the fact that not only did we win, but we also came back from losing positions a couple of times, it shows proper strength and character in the team, which is good, especially from the ones who aren't first team regulars every week, who aren't playing. You've got the likes of Garcia, who, in my opinion, doesn't give a shit about the team anymore. I think, he's like, yeah, I want to go back to Spain. Sod this.
Well, that's the funny side of it with Garcia, though, isn't it? Because obviously the contract that was offered to him in January by Barcelona has been ripped up, and it's been a half of what he was offered from Barcelona now towards the end of the season. So there is still a chance that City could come back and table a new contract for him, and he could still sign. That said, however, now that Ake is starting to get games, I know you say Ake is one of them that could potentially be, despite only being here for one season, be on his way out already. If Garcia was to sign, he arguably fifth choice.
Yeah. It's a shame because Garcia had all that potential, but like I said, if your heart's not in it, your heart's not in it. But I think almost the way he went about it, he's like, Barcelona turned you away. You came to City, we've made you what you are, and now you want to go back to him. It's like,
yeah,
well, whatever. If that's how you want to repay our faith and trust in you, sod off. Don't want you. But Ake, I feel sorry for Ake because, I'm not, like I said earlier on in the season, £40 million in my opinion was far too much for him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go as far as saying he's a £40 million flop because he's had bad injuries, and that can happen to anyone. It can happen to the fittest.
And you could argue the games he has played and he's been sound.
He was, especially earlier on in the season, he didn't do too bad. Yesterday, it really did just show how out of it he is. I mean, the first goal, he literally just wafted his hair at Emil Kraft. He was out of position. The guy was in front of it. It was textbook schoolboy stuff. It was just, and that's just rustiness. It's not, oh, he's useless, because we know he can do better than that. And it was the same for the penalty. I mean, to be fair, that Newcastle attacker, he knew what he was doing, just like any striker would know what to do. They're going to look for it. He wasn't in a position of immediate threat. There was no one to pass to. He was boxed in by a couple of players. Ake's gone down, whether it was a slip or whether he's meant to put a half-ass challenge in. It was just sloppy. It was just a really, really soft, daft penalty to give. So Ake didn't have a good game. But like I said, the rest of the time when he was on the ball, his passing was fine. And he didn't give up. Some players, especially after they just come back, especially with a big price tag, a couple of mistakes like that have literally cost you 2 goals. You can really just, want the ground to swallow you up, and you can just go into a little hold and sort of self-destruct. He didn't. He carried on. Carried on as normal, and I think that's testament again to the sort of football now City are playing.
It's very mature.
Yeah, he's grown up. He's like, shit happens. Okay, spot on. It's like Walker. That's the only worry about Walker as well. Another clumsy challenge from him, and we've seen
he didn't have the best of games at all, really, was he? I was speaking to my brother. He's a Newcastle fan. Walker seemed not. I don't want to fall him into the category of not really giving a damn about the game because the league's wrapped up and maybe just have a potter in the odd game, have a bit of a run out. He did look off the pace, and the amount of times he was barged off the ball by a lad that weighs less than a feather. I don't know if it was just Walker wants to just have a little pot around, doesn't want to risk himself pulling a hamstring injury with the runs he does, and doesn't want to try too much. What's your take of his positioning and gameplay overall?
I think there's 2 sides to it. The penalty he conceded, I think he's just typical world-class, everyday Walker. Because even when he's having a storming game, we know he has got that dopey balls up in him. Wigan away in the FA Cup, he was really good going forward. He hammered that, he hammered balls into the box all day. And then he just lost his concentration thinking about, the next parties he's throwing. ball rolls under his foot and we concede a goal. United at home. He didn't have the best games. And yesterday it was again it was a lazy challenge, which we know he's capable of, but he makes up for it. The rest of it, I said, no, he wasn't particularly at his best. I honestly think it's all pantomime. I think part of it is he doesn't want to, like I said, doesn't want to pick up needless injuries. He doesn't want to overdo himself. It's late in the season. We've got games. It's been a grueling season for the lads. He's got the Champions League final he's looking forward to. And I honestly don't think Cancelo is going to be first choice right back over him for the final.
No,
so he's just thinking, you know what? I don't want to pick up any daft yellow cards. I know it doesn't matter for the Champions League final, but if he can get a couple of games just to keep his fitness up, and he doesn't want to get a sending off now. That means he misses the last couple of games, or maybe misses the start of the next season. He's just being sensible, and also, if he looks shit, that's going to be Chelsea boss goes right, target him, and then he's going to be raring him because he's quite a professional. He does, to me, he really shows in the big games.
Yeah.
The important games. Walker is always there. He was brilliant against. Was it? Oh God, who played? It was like Dortmund, PSG. He had decent games. Cancelo, he's not a left back, and I do feel sorry for him because he's competing with Walker for right back. He took his goal well. I questioned in the group about his celebration. He didn't seem to be with it much, and I know at one point some of the comments that Pepper's made about players could be leaving. I kind of wondered whether his heart's in it anymore because he was a high profile signing, a lot of money, and he hasn't really been able to get the game time I think he expected.
And he is a mover. He's had quite a number of clubs before City as well.
But again, on the positive side, it's like you said, it's a dead rubber against Newcastle.
Yeah.
And on top of that, although it was he hit it hard from distance, which I like seeing players shoot from distance, did take a big deflection. So whether he thinks, oh God, but that might go down as an own goal. So yeah. But
no.
I think the good thing about that game though, as sloppy at times as our defence was, the maturity was still there.
Yes.
Scott Carson, great penalty save for the second one. First one, he went the right way, but no keeper was saving that. There was little errors, but they carried on. They didn't fall apart like some might have done. And then on top of the way we play out from the back, they're still part of the goals that we score eventually. And we came back and won 4-3. I think that shows great maturity as well. Torres, phenomenal. He's really hungry young player. I think he's one for the future.
We'll move on to Torres in a minute. I just want to keep with the defence and the penalty in question. I just want to get all the negatives out of the way. A lot of people, including on our chat, us two, it's a shame no one else on the other side of the fence wanted to come on tonight because I'd love to know their full arguments about this. But you and me are dead certain that was a penalty.
Yeah.
Can you understand why some people would class it as controversial and why some people would go as far as say it wasn't a penalty? Because I can't offer any insight from their view because I'm with you. I think it was a penalty. He went down. He didn't get anywhere near the ball. Yes, Newcastle player stood on his foot, but his leg had to be there. He still went in and he still missed the ball. And yes, although the player stood on him, the player went down because he was underneath a foot. So can you sort of understand why people would think it wasn't a penalty?
To be honest, I think because I totally agree with you. And as I said, just before we started, I think that's the first time in a City game I've seen VAR used perfectly. Mm-hmm. Play was allowed to continue. The original decision was offside, but they allowed the play to go on until it was basically a point where they had to stop play, and then it was looked at, it was reviewed. Okay, no, he's not offside. Move forward to the foul, clear penalty, give it. So yeah, I think there was no complaints. from my point of view, there's literally only two reasons I can possibly think of where you might feel differently. And I think one of them, you could argue, is the use of the VAR in the first place. If you think, considering Sterling the other week, it wasn't even reviewed by VAR. You know, I mean, Raheem Sterling was, you could say an inch or two away from being sexually assaulted in that game. He, you know, the way he was, you know, arse fell down on the floor. You know, it was Jesus Christ. You can't get much more contact than that, and it wasn't even looked at. And yet in this one, it was like, well, all, you know, players carried on. So I know people are touchy about VAR anyway, and I think the only other sort of reason I could think of is like either sort of mind-altering drugs or, you know, just a mental disorder, because it's as stonewall as it gets. When you come to discuss and debate, like I have on many occasions, whether it's what you think of Pep, what you think of Aguero, what you think of Torres, or what you think of anything, there's two sides to an argument. You can argue all day long. But with a penalty, when it's as clear cut as that, you know, the rules are contact in the box. It's a penalty. He didn't get the ball. He's played the man. It is a foul. It's in the box. If it was at the other end of the pitch, we would expect a penalty. If it's in the Champions League final, you would expect a penalty. If it was any team against United and that happened, you would expect a penalty. You know, if you're stood with your little lad, if you're stood on the bloody touchline in the pissing rain on a Sunday morning with your 8-year-old lad playing football and that happens in the box, you're going to be screaming at the middle-aged bald guy having a heart attack in the black outfit. You're going to be screaming, it's a penalty. You know, it's a penalty on any planet.
Yes.
So,
I mean, it was touched upon by the commentators, wasn't it, that going back maybe 20 years ago, it would have been a penalty because obviously the different rules around it. But the new rules in the modern era, that falls under the class of a penalty. It's like you say, he got the man, albeit, like I said, the man, Newcastle player, stood on his foot, but by the laws of the game, the ball wasn't played, the man was played in the penalty box. It's a penalty. That's the rules. So yeah, I personally don't understand where people are coming from when they say.
Even 4 or 5 years ago, even before VAR, it wouldn't have been a penalty. The original decision would have been offside.
Yeah,
because
it was allowed to play on, like you
said. It wasn't offside, but as soon as he got anywhere near play, the flag would have gone up, and that'd have been it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's just the way football's worked. But I thought for the first time that was a really good use of VAR. I thought the officials did well. They allowed the game to continue until it could be reviewed properly, and the correct decision was made. And it was the same for the second penalty. I mean, I know VAR looked at that as well, but there was no complaints. No. And again, even with the penalty, there was no complaints from Aki. You know, we've seen decisions given, and they're like, hold on a minute, why's, you know, what? I don't get it. Have a look at. He didn't need to go over to the monitor and look at it. It was just, that's a penalty.
Yeah.
So
hands down.
But again, I'll tell you what, the bottom line though, doesn't matter. We won the game. We're the champions. Who gives us Meg?
And like you said, it was a dead rubber. If the facts kept touching on it, it doesn't matter what the scoreline was.
That's it. If this was against Leeds United, for instance, you know, or if this was in the semi-final against PSG, and oh god, you know, then you can sort of get really arsy and proper complain about it. But it's not. We're the champions. No. Move on.
100%. Right, well, moving on from penalty errors, controversy, and just plain right ignorance and argument, we've got to go in terms of the attacking. Yes, we scored 4 goals, and one man was absolutely on fire, it has to be said, and that was Ferran Torres. He got his first City hat trick, and he became the youngest ever player to score a hat trick for a team managed by Pep Guardiola, 21 years, 75 days. Overtaking Gabriel Jesus, who was 21 and 218 days against Shakhtar Donetsk in November 2018. The finishes that Ferran Torres did, they weren't fluky, were they? Every single one of them was timed to precision, that he meant every single one of them. What are your takes on a goal, especially the back heel? That for me, that was first class.
Well, it's like, oh, I don't like you even bringing this up, but it's like Rooney's overhead kick against Joe Hart.
Yeah, I kind of wish you didn't bring it up.
It's not a fluke. He played for it. You know, if you play for it, it's only going to come off 1 in 100. But it's not a fluke because you played for it. He knew what he was doing. He did the cheeky flick, which again, even if it was Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who was a proper cocky bastard, as well as being a quality player, to be 21 years old, really struggling to get a start, especially in the league, and to be a goal down and then do that, you know, you've just equalised, and then you go and do that. That takes balls. That's confidence at its finest. You know, that's Brian Blessed kind of manliness. And I tell you what, fair play to the lad, because that was a superb goal, and you can see the sort of what it meant to him. Like I said, Cancelo was a bit like, yay, and then you get, you get him. He was full of. He was like, it wasn't just right, we're in the lead. It was, yeah.
And it's going back to what you were saying. He's obviously struggling for game time, so these goals matter more to him in trying to prove himself. Look, pick me ahead of Raheem Sterling, who's not playing well but getting the game time. Pick me ahead of Jesus, who's not finding the back of the net. I'm starting to find form, and he is. He's at the beginning of the season, especially in the Champions League. I thought he was phenomenal, and then he just disappeared, didn't he? Up until I think it was the West Ham game about a month ago where he played, and I thought it was awful in that West Ham game. But he started getting minutes, and every game he's played in, he's gotten better. He's gotten more confident about his play. He's looking lively on a ball. He can run with it. He's starting to turn out to be the all-round attacking winger/striker. And I'll get back onto that striking option. But yeah, finish what you were saying about the goal, sorry.
Well, there was that one. I mean, it kind of leads in though to the second goal. That was your proper striker's goal, because that was right place, right time. He read the game really well for that. And I think, because I asked, I think it was during, towards the end of the match, would any of you consider him above Mahrez for the Champions League final? And I know the overwhelming decision was going to be no. And, Mahrez, you can't argue, he's had a decent season this year, but he played really well. And he's up for player of the season at the minute with City. But I looked at how Torres played, and again, you mentioned how Torres was at the start of the season in the Champions League. He was phenomenal. He really, really does show guts and determination. And I think the quality might not be there, especially with how Mahrez has played, that consistency all season. There's still the greedy side of Mahrez that I don't think anyone can deny. I honestly think this season he's got away with it more. He scored more goals, but the amount of times he still does the same thing. He still cuts in on his left foot and shoots.
Easy to read.
Like I said, but it's worked for him this year. Fair play to the lad. I'm not having a go. But I think in the Champions League final, I certainly wouldn't write off the idea of picking Torres ahead of him just because of how Torres plays. He's so determined. He brings in other players as well as himself. But on top of that, the one thing we haven't played with this season, for whatever reason, whether it's injury or, just tactical choice, we haven't played with an out-and-out striker.
No.
But although he isn't an out-and-out striker, he is a wide player, he does drift inside, and he can switch on into that kind of role. And that second goal proves that he was just hunting around for thinking, where's this ball going to go? Where's it going to end up? And he got his leg on it. He threw himself at it and scored. And again, if that's the Champions League final, even in any final, if you go back to the FA Cup final against Stoke, we were a far better team than Stoke, but we only won 1-0. There's not many games, there's not many goals usually in a cup final. If you only get that one chance and you've got a choice between Mahrez getting on the end of it or Torres, it's not whether who you want to be on the end of it. It's the chances are which one is more likely to be on the end of it.
Finish
And
it and put it back in there.
Mahrez, as good as Mahrez has been this year, I don't think his work ethic is anything like that of Torres. I think there's a lot more. Torres, I think, really does. I think part of it is because, again, he's got more to prove because he isn't getting the game time and he's young and he's like, pick me, look at me, I can do it. I can, he's that little kid. He's like, look at what I can do. Look at what I can do. Daddy, did you see me? Hello. That's the kind of vibe I get from him. He's a little less mature, I suppose, than Mahrez. But in a final, it's shit or bust, isn't it? Gung ho, go for it. You've nothing to lose.
For me, I have to say I disagree personally in terms of who starts out with him or Mahrez. I know you prefer Torres to start. I think Mahrez is, apart from Foden and maybe KDB, in terms of the attacking players, Mahrez is one of the undroppables. He can turn a tie around, but I mean, I said it to you last night on our little chat. Torres is biting at the bit. Like I say, you got Raheem Sterling, who's last night he just couldn't get into it at all. He had a couple of decent displays, but he just couldn't get into the rhythm. And of course, we know Torres can play on the left as well. So that adds another option for Guardiola should he take it. But Mahrez, for me, I think it's more the experience. He knows defenders know they're going to read him on his left foot, but this season, especially, I remember saying it, I think it was to you and Tom Brunt at the beginning when we played Sheffield United. I think it was in January or February. Mahrez played. And I said his work effort and his team effort is 100 times better than what it has been previously.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it added to that game in, game out, gaming. I think that's why he's been one of those candidates for player of the season. It wouldn't surprise me if he gets it. He's not my person. That goes down to Ruben Diaz, hands down. But the level of commitment and form that Mahrez has showed has really just shot him up to the forefront. But like I say, I will go back to what I said. Torres, he deserves to get minutes in the Champions League final, hands down. Yeah. If he can continue this, should he get game time for the final 2 games of the season? Luckily, that's afforded to Pep. He can rotate a bit and get some of these lesser players who will probably be on the bench but never come on, get them in the starting lineup, see what they can do. And Torres right now, the games he's playing and the way he's playing is offering Pep a bit of a headache. But one subject on Torres I want to ask you. I put a post out on our Facebook page this morning. Training Torres to be the striker replacement. Like you said, and as we all know, we haven't played with an out-and-out striker this year, and we prefer to play with that rotational front 3, front 4, front 5, depending on who's playing. Torres shows he can score goals. It's his first year in the Premier League, his first season under Pep, and a lot of people, including yourself, says it normally takes players more than a year to feed into the Pep Guardiola style of play, such as Mahrez. He scored 13 goals so far this season, no competition, with a massive gap in between in between the start of the season and the end of the season so far, where he hasn't played. Can you see him, if Pep was willing, of course, training him up to be more of a central player rather than a winger? And does he have the ability to do that? And a lot of people said, well, he's a winger, he can't be trained up a striker. Henry was a winger.
Yeah. To be quite honest, when people say, oh, you can't train that player to be that, I always think absolute bollocks, because these are professionals at the end of the day. I mean, for Christ's sake, look at James Milner.
Perfect example.
He would play in any single position. And with the money there, especially with the quality in it's not just about money, because, Alexis Sanchez was paid a shitload and he was absolute bag of spunk. But, you look at the quality of the players we've got. £1.7 million Alexander Zinchenko. He can play as a defensive mid or, more central midfielder or left wing. He's ended up playing as a left back. Fabian Delph, central midfielder, defensive midfielder, playing as a left back. Kyle Walker, right back, right wing back, playing as a goalkeeper. And you can literally play. And you can literally train any player. In fact, you don't even need to train them. They're not stupid. They've been playing football since they can
Cancelo as
stand
well.
up.
Fernandinho, Rodri.
Zabaleta. Zabaleta was the best utility player we've ever had. Right back, left back, defensive mid, central mid, right wing. Left. He'd play anywhere you'd want to play him. In terms of that, it's the mentality in terms of your determination, because that's what they all have in common. Zabaleta. Bloody hell, you know that scene in Saving Private Ryan where, right at the start, the guy gets his arm blown off, he picks it up and just carries on. That's Zabaleta. That's how he would play. It's always the head in it with him. But that was that. James Milner. He's like, I mean, I believe he's just sent off for his free bus pass now. He's getting that old. He's still breaking the records and he's still in the lead for all the fitness tests pre-season at Liverpool. When everyone else had buggered off because they're doing it, he was the one who was like, "Oh, can I come and train with you guys? With the under-21s?" And he was going to their matches, like helping them out. It's the determination you've got as a professional. In terms of training Torres to be the Aguero kind of striker, I would never compare anyone or expect anyone to try and play that kind of role, because Aguero's the once in a generation, and that I think is a mindset you have from the start. It's that tenacity. You've got players that are always going to be like that, like Maradona, Tevez, Aguero. Could Torres play centrally? I certainly think he could. I mean, we're never going to play with height. I can't. I think,
especially under Pep.
Well, yeah, especially under Pep. I mean, Edin Dzeko was the kind of player we had under height, but even then, the football we played with him in the squad, it was never a let's whip a ball into him and let him head it. The reason he came on and got the label as a super sub, it was usually because we were chasing a game or chasing points, and it was a desperation, right? Throw everything forward, and he used to get goals.
Yeah.
Which I felt sorry for the guy because he was more to him than that. But I questioned it the other day. Everyone, I've been banging about a bit of this for over a season, that I think we should go for Haaland. The most exciting, highest. He's going to be an absolute world superstar. I think, to be honest, if we signed him, I think the commercial revenue would more than pay for a good half of it, because I think he's going to be one of those kind of superstars. But the other day, I found myself questioning it. It's like, in the summer, do we even bother buying a striker? I've always said, credit where it's due, and I always hold my hand up if I'm wrong. I've always questioned Pep, and I'll always continue to question Pep, don't get me wrong. But
we almost went for a full post-match there without you mentioning Pep.
We can't do that. No, but this time last season, after the Lyon game, I was the first one, I'll still hold my hands up. I wanted the guy out. Thought he was a crackpot. 10 games into the season, I thought, yeah, I'm right. And again, there's still things that wind me up. He does have an amazing tendency all of a sudden to just do something stupid. But I actually found myself thinking the other night while I was at work, and I was like, under my own kind of the rules, I analyze everything in the world. I like the physics. I like yes and no's. It's either this or it's that. I always say, everything has an opposite and equal reaction.
Yeah.
Pep Guardiola, 1 minute, games like the Real Madrid home and away last season, that was tactical genius, absolutely superb. I came out post-match after those games. I said how good Pep was. I said how good Gundogan had played. I said how well all the players I don't like. I always give.
And that's when you started your drinking.
Well, yeah. But there's your tactical genius.
Yeah.
So, yes, I thought he should have been sacked after the Lyon game. But then if I'd say, hold on a minute, you've got tactical genius on one hand, you have to have the polar opposite, and that was the Lyon game. You got to take the yin with the yang. Yeah. This season, like I said, I wrote him off after 10 games, and he proved me wrong. And fair dues to him. The games that they were playing, again, we went 20-odd games unbeaten in all competition. It was an amazing run. That, to me, was a big turning point. There were still games in there where I thought we didn't play particularly well, But that's the difference between us and the likes of United or Liverpool. When they've played shit this season, they've lost. You know, Liverpool, was it 4 games at home in a row that they lost?
Yeah. Us, Fulham, Burnley, and West Brom, I think.
Yeah, someone else crap. But that's the difference. If you're going to be a champion, if you're going to win titles and win competitions, you've got to play crap and still get a result. And that is what champions do. Even in our Centurion season, there was games where we didn't play as well as other games. And that's just an inevitable thing that happens. Again, against Newcastle, some sloppy defending, and yet we still got the points, and that's what true champions are. So again, credit to him on that.
And it goes back to what you were saying as well, where you never give up.
Well, that's it. But this season, I've been saying from day one, we need a striker. We need a striker. How the hell can you do anything without a striker? And my football philosophy, if I was a manager, I would say you still need a bloody striker, because if things don't go to plan in a game and you need to win, like we used to have Dzeko, we bring him. You need that option. But you know, he's proved me wrong. So if this is what's going to work, I mean, Spain won a bloody, was it the Euros or the World Cup that they won, where they didn't even play with a striker. They didn't play Torres through the competition. They had like
anyone like
6.
that, yeah.
You know, I think David Villa was the most striker-looking player they had, and they were playing him as a wide attacker. So, you know, we've just won the Premier League with Aguero keeping the nurses company and Jesus playing wide. Do we need an out-and-out striker? You know, I'd like one, but you know, I'd also like a holiday. You know, it's I don't necessarily need one, but it's nice to have. You know, so with everything else that's going on, and like I said, I'm just watching. And now I'm literally just watching the playoff final from '99, and I was thinking earlier that the Newcastle game to me just shows. I still think our weakest area is defence. And that's me really clutching at straw. We've just won the league. We're doing well. We're into the Champions League final for the first time. Got a really good chance of winning it. But I'm just watching this now, and I'm trying to think. I think this was around 99, 2000, I think was the last time we had reliable, solid centre-backs where if one was out, there was someone to cover. You know, you had Andy Morrison, Gerard Vinkins, we had Spencer Pryor the following year. And it was like if one was out, another one could come in and hold the line. Things after that, you know, we had likes of Richard Dunn. If Richard Dunn wasn't in the squad, our defence always looked shaky. And then you had like Sylvain Distant. If he was injured, we were shaky. If Company was out, we were shaky.
Yeah.
Last season, you know, Laporte was out and we really struggled at the back.
We had Rodri and Fernandinho in for one full game.
Well, there you go. You know, 2 defensive midfielders having to fill in. This season, our centre-backs have been stunning. Ruben Diaz is just another level altogether. John Stones, full credit to the man. He's turned his career around. You know, he's really done us proud. He's done himself proud. He's proved me and a lot of other, not anti-Stones, but you know, a lot of non-believers wrong. But I still think, you know, if Diaz gets injured now, you're sort of looking at Laporte. You're looking at Laporte and Stones. And yes, I'd be confident, but not quite as confident. You know, it's like, oh, there'd be a little. But then I think, well, what happens if one of them's out?
Yeah.
Would I trust Ake and Stones? No, no, I wouldn't. I've not got. I don't have that in terms of lead. Ake, I think
in terms of leadership, command.
That's the difference. Because I'm not saying about a captain as such. You need somebody to basically keep the line straight. You need somebody in that back four who's going to give someone a load of shit if they step out of line. I've always seen John Stones as more of a bit like Otamendi was. He's a quality player on his day, puts his body on the line, but he needs somebody just at the side of him to say, "Yeah, you're doing that right. Okay, watch the ball. Don't think about it over there. Stop looking at the girl with the big tits in the front row. Do this, do that, do that." He just needs somebody just to check that, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I'm supposed to be. And I think Aki's the same. So I think this is the first time we're kind of in a position where, for a long time, we've been much more solid at the back. But I still think, in terms of, if you then look at the rest of the squad, midfield, my God, there's so many combinations you can have in midfield, from the defensive pivot to the attacking central roles. Out wide and the attacking, players, again, you've got your picker players. And I'm not just talking the first team, your first team seasoned players. I'm talking about even the ones breaking through from the EDS. Yeah. But with the defence, there's just still that little bit. I mean, left back, Zinchenko for me is by far our best player. Cancelo can fit in there. Mendy, bless him. And again, right back, you've only got Walker. If there's a problem with the left back, if Cancelo can't be in two places at once, if we need, and that's so. With the striker situation, as much as I'd want a striker, as much as I'd say, right, yeah, go throw £100 million and get Haaland, maybe we need to look at the defence, and especially if Ake is one who's going to be going, because I do feel sorry for the guy. He's struggled with injuries, and I think we all thought, when he came in, it was a case of, right, you're going to be rotating with Laporte because you're a left-sided centre-back, so we can keep Laporte fresh, we can keep you fresh. Everyone's aware that you're going to be getting a good number of games. And then Diaz turned up, and him and John Stones were just like Dick and Dom in the bungalow. You couldn't beat them. They're so entertaining, so solid, and even Laporte has become like a benched player.
Yeah.
Which none of us would have ever predicted that at the start of the season. No. So I'm just thinking, well, if Aki might be going, I mean, I've said all along, let's get Stark in. But I think maybe a fresh centre-back who comes in understanding exactly what his role is going to be. He knows he's not going to be playing every single game. He knows who's in front of him in the pecking order, who he's got to better himself, Again, that's not a dig at our defence. Don't get me wrong. We've had a good season. They've done a really good job, especially the likes of Zinchenko, who's not playing in his natural position.
Yeah.
Obviously, Diaz coming in, first season in the Premier League, big ask. John Stones turned his career around. They've done well. So to say it's our weakest position, our weakest area in the field, isn't me having a dig. It's just looking for next season,
Yeah.
I'm not being funny.
That's where we're at now. We're sort of digressing into a bit of transfer talk.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the bigger picture. It's like I'm confident we're going to absolutely shaft Chelsea in this Champions League final. We're going to bend them over, pants down, no lube. It's going to be dry. It's going to be painful. They're going to really fucking suffer, and it's going to be bob on. We're going to be happy people. But then next season, we have to win it all again and the FA Cup. I want us to do the one thing that nobody else has ever done. I want us to do the one thing that will shut every dirty rag bastard up. Because all we're going to get is, oh, well, yeah, you've won the Champions League. Come back to me when you've won 13 Premier League titles. Come back to me when you've won 2 Champions League. All the scousers are like, oh, you've not won 4 of them. Piss off. We're going to win all 4 trophies in one season, and the Super Cup, and the bloody Charity Shield. We're going to win we're going to full on Football Manager the shit out of next season. But to do that, you've got to be solid in every single spot.
Yeah. And I suppose that'll most likely be under Pep Guardiola as well next season. So if you're saying that and that's going to happen next year, it's going to be under Pep.
Like I said, we'll finish on that question with Pep.
We massively digressed from post-match to transfer to Pep hate again, but we'll
free flowing. It's free flowing here.
Yeah, well, I'll give you that one. But to wrap up the post-match side, before we go into that question, I'll let everyone know what Laney means by the question. It was put to us by Brian in our admin chat. But yeah, so in the end, it did end 4-3. It was a win in a pretty meaningless game. However, there were players that got a run out a full 90 minutes and proved that they're going to give Pep a headache next season, which is only a good thing. That's only a good thing. And they're young as well, which makes it even better. But yeah, City, just a couple of stats on last night's win. City had 82.3 possession last night, the second highest on record since the 2003-04 season, behind only their 83% possession against Swansea City in April 2018. So that's a hell of a possession stat. And let's have a look. Yeah, there we go. In his 146th Premier League appearance, Scott Carson became the first ever goalkeeper to make an appearance in the competition for 6 different clubs: Leeds, Liverpool, Charlton, Aston Villa, West Brom, and City. The previous was 5 clubs represented by other former City players in Shay Given and David James, which it is 16 years to the day that David James made his debut as a striker. So there's a bit of nostalgia for you going back. But yeah, Blues, the next game, we travel to Brighton. Last time we travelled to them at the end of the season, Gundogan scored that wonderful goal and lifted us to the 2018-19 Premier League. And this time we're going there as champions. And that is on Tuesday at 7 o'clock. So that's the post-match side wrapped up. We're going to take a little bit of a sidestep on a tangent to what we were sort of discussing when we digressed a short while ago. Brian, one of the other admins on our chat, put this question to all of us, and Laney really wants to answer this. The question was, because Laney has, out of all us admins, been the most vocal in, well, you've heard it here tonight, he wants Pep out in some games. Am I right in saying it that way? Some games?
Well, no, let's just say at the start of the season, I was the guy driving the bus. The come on, let's get Pep out, boss. Admittedly, the bus is kind of broken down.
Yeah. You've been thrown off on not having a ticket. Let's put it that way. You'll be banned from any London tour bus if we win the Champions League this year. But yeah, basically, Brian put the question to everyone, but I think he was sort of aiming this at Lady. The options are, there's only 2 options. You win the Champions League this season, i.e. against Chelsea, and Pep leaves. Or we lose the Champions League and Pep stays for a minimum of 5 more years. So it's either success and Pep goes, or failure and Pep builds on what he's failed to do, which in those 5 other seasons, he could go on to win the Champions League every other season. And you could argue he has made progress in every season he's been at City by last year. What's the answer to that?
For me, it's dead simple. And I will explain it because I know everyone's going to say, "Oh, I just want Pep out," but it's more complex than that. So,
no.
first of all, it's got to be option A: win the Champions League this year, and Pep leaves. Okay, I won't be bothered if he just left immediately after, or whether he left at the end of his current contract, but certainly not another 5 years. Numerous reasons why. First of all, we are in the final now. Okay, we are now in the Champions League final. You look at how many times Alex Ferguson won the Champions League with United. Okay, they won, was it 13 Premier League titles, but they only won 2 Champions Leagues.
Yeah.
It's not an easy competition. I especially think for an English club to win it, because the way English football is played is so different to the continent. The referees don't really give us much in the way of decisions. Obviously, UEFA have a big agenda against us anyway. And on top of that, you never know. You know, this European Super League's just been quashed now. There's no saying it. Something similar won't rise. Come again. So I think take your chances while you've got it. I honestly don't think it's only going to be our only chance. Don't get me wrong, but we've got to go there. We've got to win it now. This is the best chance we're going to have, I think, to beat it. To get that trophy.
Yeah.
And I also think we deserve it this season. I think Pep, he's done a good job this year to turn what was a tragic start. I think it was his worst start as a manager.
Can I just say, you're sort of turning the tables against yourself here. You want him Pep out, and yet you sort of building momentum of why he should stay.
No. See, this is the other thing about why we should. I'm getting more and more concerned with, like I said, it's the whole in Pep we trust thing, which it really grinds my. Ooh. It seems there's a lot of City fans that I've heard it numerous times, and Brian said himself that this isn't going to last forever, and it's the impression that basically they all think everyone's said that Pep is the best we've ever had, best we're going to have, and it's it's almost like once he's gone, that'll be it. It's not. It's not. I've always said I don't think he's the best manager, not because I don't like him. I just simply think that by definition, you can't label any manager as the best just because you can't compare them. There's so many different variables. I don't even want to, you can't even begin to pick it apart.
Different eras.
Even comparing Pep to Pellegrini, even comparing Pellegrini to Mancini, there's so many different variables. You can't even compare Pep's Centurion season with his quadruple season because, again, there's so many different little things that you can pick at. And I mean, I did sociology and psychology, as well as philosophy at A level. So yes, you can say, we'll use all these stats and this is the best. You can get the best of everything you can, but there's still so many potholes. So just by, like I said, just by the definition of the phrase, I don't like saying he's the best because I don't think you can label any of them. He's by far our most successful manager, and full credit to him for what he has done. I've said it numerous times. Mark Hughes, he was at the start. He basically cleared the shit and started the foundations. Like the team he built, the likes of Company, De Jong, Tevez. There were some quality players that he started with. Mancini came in and Pellegrini came in, and they added to that. They continued to build what we had, and like I said, it's like building your ideal dream house.
Mm-hmm.
They choose Mancini, Pellegrini did the foundations, the structure. Pep's basically come in like Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen and basically just done he's done the full interior design. He has put all the fixtures and fittings in. He has made this look absolutely stunning. Give it his own twist. He's changed our style of football. I can't see him being around here for 20, 30 years.
No.
And I think the worry for me is because I think the way football in general across the world has changed. Managers don't stay at a club anymore for 10, 15, 20 years. Even if they love the club, even if they're doing well with the club, they don't stay there all that long anymore. And I don't like comparing us to United, but that's, Alex Ferguson, whether you like him or not, he's the most successful Premier League manager.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a very good manager. He was close to being sacked at one point. And then he got
shame he wasn't really, wasn't it? Let's be honest.
Well, yeah. Imagine how things could have gone. But he was a quality manager. And he was there for, what was it, like 20, 30 odd years, wasn't it? He was there decades. And he left. And it's fell apart at United. They're shit. Absolute sack of shit. They're chuffed about being in the Europa Cup final, for God's sake. They're buzzing about winning the League Cup, the trophies they previously nicknamed the Mickey Mouse Cup. And all they're doing now is clinging on to the past. It's like, Manchester's still red. Wait till you've won all these titles. Wait till you've done this. I've said it before. I'm not sure. Pep could literally turn up tomorrow and say, I've had enough. I've had a breakdown. There's my resignation. I'm sorry, I'm out. I'll be gutted because he's got us to the Champions League final. I'd want him to win it. I'd want him to be there and prove everyone wrong. Sort of, he's earned that,
including yourself, has to be said.
Yeah. He's earned it. But I'm not going to be depressed or worrying if he goes. I don't care if he wins the Champions League final and quits, because what we have done at Manchester City, what the owners have done, is they've built something that can't just be crumbled by one man.
Yeah.
That's the difference. United, it was all about what Fergie had built. Fergie had built everything at United. It wasn't the owners, it wasn't the fans, it was what he did. And full credit to the man, because he did it all himself.
Yeah.
I've said it before. Mancini, he won us our first FA Cup and set us on the path. He won the Premier League with us. Pellegrini did it. Pep's come along and won everything domestically that we can. They've just continued. And as I said to you before the start of the show, I honestly think if Mark Hughes would have been kept on for another season or two, I honestly think he would have won our trophy. Whether it would have been, whether it had been the league or, I'm not going to go into that. But I mean, he got us to a League Cup semi-final. And we were 5 minutes away from the final on that. He was doing, I think, Mancini came in the following season, and with the addition of David Silva and Yaya Toure, he won the FA Cup. He added Mario, Dzeko, and Aguero. There were only a couple of signings, and obviously we know that by that point, was it really the managers who were making the signings anyway? We had the director of football doing all that kind of stuff. So I think the potential was there, but the point I'm making is, it isn't one man who's winning stuff at Manchester City. It's not the fans who are the reason. It's everything. It's collective. So if Pep goes tomorrow, yeah, shame. I want him to win the final, but there'll be someone who'll come in and take over and do just as well. Right? You could have Archie, stick him in a suit. You could do it. I honestly think, and again, I honestly think that we should
Archie, for anyone wondering what he's on about, is my 1-year-old son.
Yeah. Walking,
not just some random bloke he knows as part of City.
Yeah, walking. I'm not joking. You could give Paul Ince the manager's spot at City, and he would still win trophies at City. That's how. I mean, everyone looks at me and says, "I'm the negative guy." No, I'm not. I don't think I'm negative. I'm critical. I am very overly critical. But I think the goalposts at City have moved. I said, I'm watching the bloody playoff final. I was there. I thought that was the dog's bollocks, man. I thought that was the shit. I had the following season's shirt, the EDOS shirt. I had number 5 on the back of that because Andy Morrison was that fucking hero. And now look at us. And people are telling me that it's not going to last. Give over.
Yeah.
That's like saying, all right, I'm off tonight. I'm going to go and have a quick wank. Oh, but it'll be the last time I'll do that. No, it's not. You know what you're doing with it. You keep going.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. And you know what? In 20, 30 years' time, when my lad has got kids and they're coming to me and they're taking the piss because I'm still sat with an old VCR watching the, We Are Back videos, reminiscing. And say, that was proper football. Look at this shirt is still in one piece. It's not falling to bits like these new crap like that. This shirt cost me 30 quid, not £200. There will still be winning trophies. We will. By that, I mean, my mate was laughing at me and I said, look, we've won 3 Premier Leagues in the last 4 seasons. We've won 5 in the last
10.
Not even 10 years.
9 years,
9 years. We've won 5 trophies, 5 Premier League titles in the last 9 years under 3 different managers. I can't remember any other team doing that.
5 League Cups and 6 League Cups.
Oh, it's not the League Cup. Why do people keep calling it the League Cup? Oh my God! It's the Manchester City Invitational Tournament. For anybody who don't know history, right? If you've seen Gladiator with Russell Crowe in it, Emperor Commodus was a real guy. He was the real Emperor of Rome. He did compete.
He's
in
the teacher, by the way, for anyone wondering why he knows all this. He's actually a former teacher.
Former teacher. But no.
He was struck off for laziness.
He did compete in the gladiatorial games, but they were all rigged. They were either people who were sentenced to death and given wooden swords, or they were stabbed previously and covered up. So it made him look good. That's what City do until we get to the final. It's just fodder. It's just fodder for our kids to play with. It's like when you throw a live mouse in the vivarium with a snake. You know what the outcome's going to be.
Yeah.
It's just a warm-up game for real tournaments. The League Cup is ours. They should do like the WWE does. Just scrap the trophy and just let's design a nice blue beaker or something with a happy smiley face on it. Because it is our trophy. So
yeah.
But that's how I see it. I honestly see that. It's blue skies, and it's always going to be blue skies. So all the people that say, "Oh, it's not going to last," cheer up. Of course it will. Of course it will.
I have to admit, we're going to have to start wrapping it up soon because that Pep-loving monologue decides to go on for longer than the post-match. But you know what I mean.
It wasn't too negative either, was it?
No, well, not too much. No, you did give Pep some compliments, if to say the least. But yeah, we'll start to wrap it up. Now, the way you answered that was, I hope I win it. Hope we win it. He's won us Champions League. Now move on, so I can prove that I'm right and that things move on from Pep. I think that's what the summary
pretty
of
much,
what you're trying to say.
Yeah. It's because again, I think if we stayed for another 5 years, I think it might be that self-fulfilling prophecy that actually, when he does finally step, because he's not going to be there forever, because he's going to die one day, even if he carried on till he's 80. If he's there too long, then maybe we do forget who we are, and it's all about the Pep football, like it happened because that's what happened at United with Fergie.
Yeah.
And it became it's Fergie time. It's this, it wasn't Manchester United anymore. It was just Alex Ferguson and whoever he picked. I don't want that at City. I support Manchester City. People come and go.
Okay.
Players come and go. Look at the team we've got now.
Mm-hmm.
Aguero's the last one from that first team that won the title. This is his last season. So are you going to tell me, well, that's it? So the heroes that won us our first title are all gone? Oh, we're not going to win another now. Ah, bullshit. We'll be winning it next year. We'll be winning it the year after. Foden's kids are going to win it. That's how it's going to work.
Fingers crossed. Who knows if Foden kids are in it? Most of our kids will hopefully be in the team as well. I know me and Dan Halifax are pushing for our little lads to be part. I'm sure Bailey will be part of the Swansea outlook before long.
Oh, bloody hope so.
Right.
It'd be guaranteed game time if that's the case. He won't be sent out to Spain on loan.
Here comes Girona's bailing. Right, Blues. We're going to wrap it up now. Well, you've had basically an entourage one-on-one with Laney tonight, as well as a post-match. Would you believe that was the only reason we jumped on? But hell, we answered a couple of questions. I think Laney said his piece, his misunderstood piece, but I have to admit it's a lot clearer now. I did honestly think no matter what, it's Pep out with you regardless. But you did add some substance to your argument. I don't think many people would agree with it as it is your opinion.
I don't expect them to neither.
Hey?
I don't expect them to agree either, to be honest.
Not many people.
If people turn around and went, I get it. That's what Laney meant. Oh yeah, I'd be shitting myself because I'd be like, what's going to happen now? The world is coming to an end. It'd be disastrous. It's not normal.
What a way to end the podcast.
Oh yeah, if people don't think I'm a twat, there's something wrong with it.
Oh, I can guarantee he is. I can guarantee he. I beg of you, just send him a message. It's Chris Blankenship Lane. That's his name, second name, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know why Blankenship sounded wrong. I don't know why I said that. But yeah, send him a private message, whatever you do. He will give you some of his wisdom, and yeah, feel free to throw some tomatoes at him from afar or anything like that. Just keep him off his pedestal. But yeah, Blues. Go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say make it apples. They hurt more.
It might make some sense. But anyway, that was a much digressed post-match. But hey, we filled a lot of questions and a lot of answers in with Laney. I think we're all missing breakfast with Laney, so I think that was a big pull back to that. But yeah, Blues,
start next season. Well, I'll be back next season.
Thank God, because I personally missed it on a Wednesday morning. But it's not been the same since. But yes, Blues, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Like I say, unfortunately, it was just us two, but I think we've made it work in many people's absences tonight. But
hold on a minute. You didn't answer the bloody question.
What question?
Pulpy's question. So what would you pick?
Sorry, I can't. We can win it or lose it. I want him out. He's a prat. No. My personal opinion is, I said it in the previous podcast, which we deleted for good reason, as it was too negative to put out on a Champions night. But for me, you don't bring in a manager like Pep Guardiola just to win league titles. As much as us as fans, and me personally, yes, I am one of the younger generation, but I was still around when we were crap. As much as we love Premier Leagues, FA Cups, and the Manchester City Invitational Cup, and I mean, hell, I even celebrate the Community Shield, but that's a different matter. Pep Guardiola was brought in my view, to win the Champions League. And I'd even go as far as to say only the Champions League. That's the cup the owners want. That's the cup they said they wanted when they first bought the club. If he doesn't win it this year, which is hands down his best year, Chelsea have suddenly started throwing toys out the pram a little bit, especially tonight since they lost the FA Cup. If we don't win it this year, I personally don't feel we'll ever win it under Pep, because there's just this year the team he's built is phenomenal. If he doesn't win it with this team this season, something is marginally wrong in the heads of the players and the coaching in that aspect. That's my view. However, I will admit, if it was just based on league trophies, which part of me is towards, I kind of want him to stay, because he does win the league. He does take all competitions seriously, bar the semi-final this season, but that aside. So I'm either or. I'd be happy if he stayed. I wouldn't mind if he left, because like you said, things change. People move on. Trophies are still won under other managers. So I've got no worries about that. Ranieri won the league title for Leicester. Brendan Rodgers just won the FA Cup for them tonight. It carries on, and they haven't even spent a penny. Well, much of a penny compared to City. But so I've answered your question. I'm not saying Pep in or Pep out. I'm on the fence.
I will say one thing that Pep's done though, because last season I said he'll never change and everything. And to be fair to him, this season, especially in the Champions League, he hasn't asked about with his he hasn't tried to overthink shit. He hasn't been daft. He hasn't been stupid. He's just done what he knows we can do. And against Dortmund, I mean, yes, I was quite critical about the Dortmund games. I was like, oh well, you know, if we're going to do better in the next, you know, we've got to improve this, we've got to improve that. You know, and again, PSG, professional performances, they got through it. That's what you need to do. You're now in the final. Just keep. I think he will. I don't think he's going to do anything daft for it. And the good thing about the final is, it doesn't matter how shit we play. Oh my God, you know, we could literally play like the worst football ever. It's the result that matters on that day. I don't really care. It's a shit or boss kind of game, and I don't think he'll arse about with it.
And the thing to add on before we actually finish this podcast at some point tonight, I think what a lot of people will agree with you and me is there is still that lingering doubt that, you know, he could play curveball, and people say curveball is a good thing, but you know what, in that game he could easily put Mendy in the squad or Sterling. You know it. It will happen.
Back four of Mendy, Ake, Fernandinho, and Cancelo.
I was surprised we put Carson in goal. He had a great game against Newcastle last night.
He'll have two pivots. He'll play with two up front as well. They'll be like, "What are you doing?"
He'll have Sergio. He'll be telling Sergio when he's on a penalty, "Take the Panenka, take it." So you know he will win.
Yeah, Tiny Tim, here's your crutch. Get on there, lad.
Right, Blues. Thank you very much again for joining us. And this time we are wrapping it up because I'm knackered. I've run out of scotch and I need another one. I'm off in a garage to finish off my Titanic model. So, yeah.
So, just before we go,
I'm going to come to your house. I don't advocate violence, but this fits perfectly in the airways. We're off. Good night, Blues. Take care. Thank you for joining us. It's
as
been
City
Dan.
Dave always says, City till I die.
Good lad. Good lad. Take care, Blues. Stay safe. All the best.
See you later, guys.